That an end to the lockdown will not mean an end to COVID-19. Take a listen.
There is therefore no credible route to a zero COVID Britain or indeed a zero COVID world. And we cannot persist indefinitely with restrictions that debilitate our economy, our physical and mental well-being and the life chances of our children. And that is why it is so crucial that this roadmap should be cautious, but also irreversible. We're setting out on what I hope and believe is a one-way road to freedom. And this journey is made possible by the pace of the vaccination programme.
Now, the vaccine rollout, as the Prime Minister said, has been remarkable. And I want to pay tribute to everybody involved. It is the light at the end of the tunnel. But if we're going to get there, we have to tread very carefully. So I'm glad the Prime Minister spoke today of caution, of this being irreversible, of assessing the data and following the evidence. Those are the right guiding principles. And I have to say it's a welcome change from some of the language the Prime Minister has used in the past.
All right, let's go to the UK now for reaction and bring in Dr. John Campbell. He's a health educator based in Carlisle. Dr. Campbell is a familiar face to our viewers here and to his followers on YouTube, where he has become a trusted voice in all questions about the coronavirus. Dr. Campbell, it's good to see you again. The Prime Minister, he wants this lockdown exit to be one way. Has the UK vaccinated enough of the population to make this course irreversible?
Not yet, but it's on a track to do so. The reduction in cases we've seen since the peak in early January have largely been as a result of the lockdown. But tomorrow we're going to reach 18 million vaccinations in the UK, the vast majority of which have been a single first dose vaccine, which we know confers a lot of benefit and a lot of safety. There's new data came out of Scotland yesterday that shows the Pfizer and the Oxford vaccine are both protecting against severe illness and death in the older age group. So even though we might get more cases, what vaccination is going to do is break the link between cases and the inevitability that severe illness and deaths will follow. So that it is quite possible that the R value could go above 1 when schools reopen. That's quite possible. But as more and more of the critical people that are at risk get vaccinated, deaths and hospitalizations will continue to go down. I think that's fairly inevitable as vaccinations increase. And as I say, up to 18 million vaccines in the UK tomorrow. Yeah. So this is the strategy that we are expecting.
Yeah, it's an impressive number. Dr. Campbell, are you saying that the policy of one injection, one shot, instead of waiting for the second injection, has that policy been successful?
I think very much so. I mean, there was data from Public Health Scotland this morning, and it showed, based on 1.2 million people that we now have data from who've been vaccinated in Scotland, and people who had a single dose of the Pfizer injection, one single dose, 650,000 people that applied to, and there was 84% less chance of hospitalizations and severe illness. And with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, it was even better. It was a 94% reduction in severe illness. Now, we're pretty sure it also reduces transmission. Both vaccines reduce transmission. We're not sure how much, probably around about 70%. But we've got the factors that they reduce transmission and they reduce severe illness. That's the key thing. It's going to take the pressure off the health service. Less people are going to suffer, less people are going to get severely sick, and less people are going to die. And we know that these happen after one dose. And the data from Israel is also showing that after one dose, we get good protective efficacy effects. And the second dose is really a booster dose. So if we give that after 3 months, that's going to increase the longevity of the immunity that we get. Perhaps, well, we don't really know, certainly up to a year we're expecting, although we are expecting to do another round of vaccinations probably in the autumn in the UK. But this is largely driven by the new variants.
Are you sure about that? Are you saying that it's a given now that we should be planning for another round of vaccinations, like booster vaccinations late in the year?
Well, we certainly need a primary vaccination, then everyone's going to need a second vaccine. And by the UK strategy, that's going to be 3 months after the first dose. The UK is currently preparing second-generation vaccines that should be efficacious against the UK variant, the Brazilian variant, the South Africa variant, which are going to potentially be an increasing problem. So the expectation at the moment is, yes, that most people will require a third vaccine, perhaps sometimes next winter, as a booster to give full efficacy against the new variants.
One pillar of this plan, of course, is the vaccinations. The other is massive testing. Is that the correct duo that we need?
Well, we are. For example, schools are going back on the 8th of March, and that's going to include twice weekly testing for people at school. Now, I think it's important, but of course, testing is absolutely critical on people taking action if they get a positive test. There's no point testing if people then don't self-isolate for 10 to 14 days and indeed consider isolating their contacts. So testing sounds good in theory, but it depends very much on people following through with the isolation and the discipline that requires. That's why I've always been slightly more uncomfortable with testing. But yes, the government is certainly taking it forward as a pillar of the way forward. Definitely, it's definitely part of government strategy, yes.
Let me ask you before we run out of time, the Prime Minister mentioned today COVID status certificates, perhaps to help restart international travel. He mentioned concerns over privacy, possible discrimination. Are you in favor of those certificates?
Well, the government is going to consider this when it goes into phase 3. That's the 17th of May. Personally, I think it's inevitable. Certain countries are already insisting on it. Greece, for example, is going to insist on it for people going to that country. So whether we agree with it or not is somewhat irrelevant for international travel. It will be imposed on us. There is precedent for this. Yellow fever vaccination is required for many parts of Africa. So it's not something that's completely new. And I think it's going to become, certainly for international travel, it's going to be essential. The case is how far this is rolled out domestically. Will it be necessary to have a green COVID pass to get into a cinema, to go to a theatre, to go to a restaurant? That's going to be a topic of debate this summer. Personally, I am reasonably comfortable with it.
Okay, Dr. John Campbell, as always, Dr. Campbell, it's good to get your thinking and your insights. We appreciate it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.